Today, I'm going to be talking about why we, as future psychologists and future teachers, should support House Bill 1643. What is House Bill 1643? The House Bill 1643 is proposed developing a loan forgiveness program for teachers in high-demand schools. So specifically, it's based specifically for Washington State. The legislator discovered that in Washington State, there has been a high rise for teachers leaving the education profession now more than ever before. It has been an issue for schools to try to fill the positions that are in difficult locations and subject areas because of low salaries offered to teachers. The government already forgives teacher loans for those who work at Title I schools, but many teachers do not meet the federal program. The gradual loss of teachers will be ongoing unless an action is taken. This bill, House Bill 1643, is geared towards keeping teachers in the higher demand schools, as well as those individuals who are not sure if they have the funds to afford to become a teacher, and for individuals who come from traditional unrepresented groups. The legislator presents a forgiveness of the teacher federal loans with aims at assisting teachers who work full-time for 5 straight years, especially in areas that have a shortage of subject importance, including English language learners and special education programs, and in certain geographic areas. With the teacher loan forgiveness program in place, this bill will increase in the quantity of people hired in the specific areas and in high-need schools in the state of Washington, as well as decreasing the rate of teachers leaving their profession, specifically in high-demand areas. So, to me, when I read this bill, I didn't know that so many teachers were leaving the education profession, specifically because they get paid very less salary. So it was stated in the article, very less salary. So I wanted to find out just more of the specifics of this bill, so I did my own individual research, and I found that in 2017, the salary for teachers was $38,727. That is really, really low for having to pay for living essentials, food, water, housing, things like that, as well as paying student loans. From my understanding, that is, once we graduate from school, we have to pay student loans right back. So it becomes very difficult for teachers to both pay for student debt, and as well as pay for living essentials. It's an issue. It's an issue for everybody, and I'll get in more of the specifics as we go on. But with having this bill passed, it will create more demands for teachers to stay in their profession. With the low income combined with the debt, the teachers are in a crisis trying to pay back their study expenses as well as pay for the essentials for living. By passing this bill, we are actually giving them a chance to fulfill their calling and focus on providing the best education possible for their students. When you're in a school, you can borrow, and then I'm going to talk about the specifics. So this bill, before I get on talking about more about the loans, I just want to indicate that this bill impacts anybody who is involved in the educational system, because the teachers are the foundation of education, and without them, we wouldn't have anyone teaching our students. And more specifically we wouldn't have anyone teaching us when we went to school. Teachers are so important, and nowadays we take them for granted. And to think that as a country we give more importance to other things than who's educating our children, our nephews, our nieces, our cousins, our brothers and sisters, just things like that. So it's sad, but with this bill, I'm hoping that we can truly make a difference. And I just want to backtrack a little bit and talk a little bit about just talk a little bit more about the people who cannot afford to go to school. So the great things about student loan is that generally most anyone can take out student loans, but the difficulty, but it's really sad that someone wants to go in a profession to benefit our community and benefit our children and really make an impact, and they are the ones who get thrown in the dark. So $38,000 is, just specifically, for one salary in 2017, the average salary, it's really sad. And also, just to touch base on this, we can't blame the teachers for getting out of the teaching profession, because we as a country have failed them. We need to have an understanding that the living expenses have risen a lot. So if teachers are leaving the education profession because and going on to something else, and they are increasing, we really need to take a look at ourselves as a country and see, okay, what is the problem? And the problem is the student loans are just ridiculous. That's one of the things that we can fix, is how can we get rid of or reduce student loans for teachers. So this is a bill that hasn't been approved but is in the middle of readings, and we'll get more in depth with that. And the next thing I want to talk about is the different types of loans. So when you're in school, you can borrow money anywhere between $5,500 to $12,500 yearly in direct subsidized loans and direct unsubsidized, butchering these words, loans, depending on the amount of years you are spending in college for undergraduate degrees. For each of these years, it can add up to $22,000 to $50,000 for 4 years to earn an undergrad degree. If the teacher did take out loans for 4 years, up to $12,500, then they are expected to start paying back those loans as soon as possible. Furthermore, the salary that they are starting off with is less than how much loans they will have to pay back. With assistance from this program, it will give the teachers peace of mind, and they will continue to give their full attention to students who are our future. Another benefit for the loan forgiveness is that their full attention to Another benefit for the loan forgiveness is that we are keeping the most effective and caring educators that will make impacts on our students' education. There are certain teachers that not only make learning fun, but also make vast impacts on the lives of our students. And I'm sure each one of us could remember a teacher that truly had an impact on our education. that somehow helped us learn something, gave us great life advice, took us under their wing. I'm sure, and just think, if we did not have that teacher, would be here or making the great choices that we have made today. So it's just so important nowadays to have really great teachers assisting students. I mean, we've all seen what's been happening to our nation the last year or so. I mean, last 2 years, school shootings. We need great educators, and we need great psychologists, and we need a great admin team. And to think that money is an obstacle for all this, it's just crazy. And we need to take a look at how we are doing this. And I think by passing this loan or passing this bill first will be so important. But that was my little rant. But so in 2017, 8% of teachers left their profession yearly. This was from the Student Loan Forgiveness for Teachers, the Complete Guide 2018 research article. With the forgiveness program, there will be a decrease for teachers in leaving the teaching profession. By forgiving the teachers' loans, we are letting our teachers focus on the curriculum being taught and working with their students and what they are learning. Not only will this loan benefit the students, but also the parents. When the bill is passed, parents will feel a sense of relief that their students are getting the best education from the people who truly want to make a difference in their child's life. Parents don't want their child to be with a teacher who's not meeting the needs of their child, nor giving their full attention. Parents build their trust blindly in the education system, hoping the teachers who are there want to be there. And generally, anyone who goes in the teaching profession, they don't do it for the money. They do it because they really want to make an impact on our future leaders and our the children, and shape their views of the world. But by passing this loan, we are building a strong so basically parents build their trust in the education system, hoping that teachers who are there want to be there. So, and generally the teachers that are there because they care, and that is so important. They are there for almost 8 hours a day because they care. By passing this, so another thing that I want to tie into, so I talked about how this loan affects the parents, and basically parents every day send their student to school because they believe that it's going to have a huge impact on their development. And it does. I mean, sending your child to school is an essential and a necessity. So we want to make sure that when parents send us their students, we have the best professionals in hand to provide them that education. Another thing, so in regards to educators, people want to rely, so these are educators would be like people that work with, the teachers. So, people that want to work with the teachers. So in regards to educators, people want to be able to rely on their coworkers if there is a concern. By passing this loan, we are building a strong union amongst teachers to have one another's back because they really want to be there and find the solution to problems in unison. There's an article here. I wonder if it's on the next page. There's an article that was published by the University of Auckland, stated that teachers account for 30% of the child's achievement. The environment created by the teacher in the classroom and the way the teacher teaches has a huge impact on the student's education. If the atmosphere in the classroom is upsetting because the teacher is having a bad day, then it will affect the students' education as well as their relationship with parents and other colleagues. So teachers really do play a huge part in a student's achievement. 30% is what the University of Auckland found. 30%. And we want to make sure that if teachers are upset because they feel like they're not getting a fair pay for what they are doing, or they're not being able to pay for certain essentials, then because they have these student loans, then passing this bill will benefit everyone in the end. And I'm going to touch base on this later, but longevity is huge. I am working to become a future school psychologist, but we want to work with teachers who know the curriculum. That is so important for us. And I'll touch base on that in just a little bit. Actually, we'll just touch base about it right now. As a future school psychologist, it is evident that we will work hand in hand with teachers when it comes to students' education. We want to work with teachers who have longevity and passion in their profession because they will bring about new perspectives when dealing with a student's educational plan. With longevity, we would not have to deal with so much overturn of the teachers, which require retraining. Every time we have a new teacher, we would have to retrain them. And because there is such a huge increase of teachers leaving the education profession, we would be constantly working with new teachers, to show them how to understand the student's educational plan and how to work in IEPs and things like that. When we work with teachers that have experience in the educational system, they already know what goes on in the IEP and what specific data to collect of the student that we as future psychologists are looking for. We also want teachers to have a passion for their job. If teachers don't have a passion for their job, then that's a different story. But, I haven't seen, from what I've read, there's so much overturn of teachers because they're not able to pay back student loans and have the essentials for a living. When someone wants to be a teacher, they care about the learning of their students, and they want to make lasting impacts on their lives. We want to have passionate teachers that understand the responsibility of the job. As a future psychologist, we understand that effective teachers strive to focus improvements on their curriculum. With their busy schedules, we want to be able to work with a teacher who cares enough to implement certain curriculum to diverse students and not just give up on them. The last thing we want is for teachers to lose interest in their jobs because they aren't able to pay for the essentials in life. Nor do we want teachers to focus less on their work and more on how they will pay their bills. With the loan forgiveness program in place, we will be able to efficiently work with teachers without having a third factor in place to make them worried. And that goes huge. So as of right now, where does House Bill 1643 stand today? January 25th, 2017 was the first reading of the bill. Currently, it is being reviewed by the House Committee on Education and Labor. Give me one moment. I want to show this video to you.
I have tens of thousands of dollars in student debt. Racked up a little bit here and there. I am $26,000 in debt
bad news for new college grads with student loan debt. As if debt wasn't bad enough, researchers now say that the loans plus rising housing costs mean new grads may have to work 13 years longer than today's average retiree.
My grandpa retired when he was 65, so that kind of sucks.
Why? Because according to a study by NerdWallet, as millennials, we have overwhelming amounts of student debt and rents are rising like crazy.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
Student debt can end up costing college graduates nearly $700,000 in lost retirement savings over a 50-year period, according to their calculations.
That's a lot of money. Isn't that like half of some people's retirement funds?
What can you do about it? Well, you could move back home. No, but seriously, you may be laughing at your friends who moved back in with mom and dad, but if new graduates live at home until 25, the research estimates that could shave 5 years off their retirement age.
That's money that I am putting towards my loans right now because I'm living with my parents.
While you can't get rid of your student debt, there are ways to lower the bill. First, see if some of your loan balance can be forgiven. If you're employed in a certain public sector job, like working in the armed forces or Teach for America program, you may qualify. If you've made at least 120 payments, then the rest is forgiven. Second, make sure that you have the best terms on your loan. If you're paying a high interest rate, you might want to consider refinancing the balance through a private lender like SoFi or Common Bond or Earnest. Of course, you want to make sure that you have good credit before you actually apply. And if you're following these steps, it'll help you free up some money so that you can save and put that towards your 401k or an IRA, and that way retirement doesn't have to seem quite so far away.
So, I think from what we watched, that video is really empowering. To think that 75 is the new retirement age that we are looking at. And you know what? For some people, it may not be, but for people such as teachers, it with the low salaries, it probably is. And you know, who knows? Maybe it won't be for some teachers, but not for all teachers. But if we, as a community, can stand up and say, hey, that's not fair, and give importance to the people who educate our children, it's going to go a huge, huge, long way. And hopefully, with this bill approving, more teachers would be able to get their student debt paid. Yeah. So social justice and student loan forgiveness. So how I tied this in is that for social justice basically is, being fair with everyone. So I said being fair with our teachers and students and even our families and educators in providing both the best possible school environment to develop future leaders. No one wants to work with, no one wants to work with someone who doesn't understand, their student. Everyone wants a great educator. And when our teachers are worried that they're not able to pay a certain bill for something, and because of that they have to give up on their dream to go work in another profession that makes more money, we are giving so much more importance to money. And and in today's day and age, we give a lot of importance to money, to materialistic things, but we don't care enough to actually not all of us, but generally most of us don't care enough to stand up and say, hey, I don't think that's fair. We want to be able to look at our parents and look at our students and be like, hey, you did it. When they walk across graduation, for high school graduation, and you have those amazing teachers, and I had an amazing teachers too, and say, you help me do this, and you help make math fun, and you help make history so much more powerful and mean a lot to me. So we want to make sure that teachers work hard in providing so much for everybody that we don't take so much away from them. And that is just why House Bill 1643 is so important. And just to recap on some of the most important things that I talked about, we talked about that the legislator discovered that in Washington state, there has been a huge rise for the teachers leaving the education profession more than ever before, more than the national average in Washington state. It's been such a long-going issue that it's time that we take a stand and we show our teachers that we care by passing House Bill 1643. The government already does forgive teachers' loans for those who work at Title I schools, but so many teachers don't meet that federal program requirement. And with that, we are losing so many great educators, so many great teachers, because no one has said, hey, I don't think that's fair. And this bill is just focused on trying to keep the teachers in those higher demand schools. It gets exhausting, like there's days when you go to school for 8 hours to teach, and those high demand schools, and working with those working with those individuals that come from traditionally unrepresented groups becomes exhausting. So the legislator presents this forgiveness program for teachers that do work in these high demand schools. And there is requirements, and the requirements are that teachers have worked a full time for 5 straight years, and in those areas that have a shortage of subject importance, such as English language learners, and they are in certain geographic areas. And then with this loan forgiveness program in place, this bill will hopefully increase the rates of teachers staying in schools. And there won't be so much overturn for the teachers. And that's what social justice is all about, is being fair, and $38,000 to pay student loans and the essentials of life. That's just crazy. I'm sorry to just say it like that, but this is just something that came across to me and I'm very passionate about. And I think this is so important for us all to know, because we are all going to the education system. And, a lot of us probably do know that, teachers do not get paid that much. But that's when it becomes a problem for everybody, because those great teachers, we want to keep those teachers happy, and we want them there for a long period of time, because they know how the system works. They know which student needs assistance. They know which program to implement. They know how to collect the data. And it will go a long, long way. And it will benefit them, and they will benefit you. And, we want to work with people. But with this bill, we will start to forgive teachers in those teachers' loans will be forgiven. And I think hopefully this bill is passed, and those teachers' loans will be forgiven for those teachers in high demand schools. But I just wanted to bring this attention to everybody that is involved in the education system, that there is something that is happening, and we need to support House Bill 1643, because at the end of the day, it affects everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me, and hopefully I persuaded you enough to support House Bill 1643.